There is a growing concern, and actually not even a growing concern. I have a growing concern. I always do. What is the big three? You know, we have a Super Bowl coming up, and in this country, in the United States, it's a big, super big deal. And it got me to thinking, the big three. Now, I get up for a Super Bowl. I don't get up for a Major League World Series. I don't even get up for the NBA Final like I get up for the Super Bowl. Stanley Cup, I get up for the Masters. I get up for the Masters. I need to know from you, Charles. Name your three, the big three. And what sport is a French sport? We can even do rapid fire because I'll name a sport and you tell me yes or no, but I want your big three.
Well, honestly, to me, as far as sports, and this has nothing to do with what I like or what I think is actually the best sport.
In general.
There's really only one sport
Okay.
in the United States of America, and that is the NFL. And the NFL is not even truly my favorite sport. I'm a hockey guy. I like hockey. Well, I like every sport, but hockey's my number one. Then NFL, and then baseball. I do postseason. I rarely miss a postseason baseball game.
Okay.
NBA. I'll say this: I can watch the last 2 minutes of any NBA game.
Wow.
Other than that, I don't want to see 2 hours of isolation play.
So who's your big three? If you had to choose, I'm pinning you down right now. Your three. Your big three that are big three. Simply big three. We can go by numbers.
We could talk about golf, but it matters. Is
Golf.
Tiger relevant or not?
Tiger
If
moves
Tiger
the needle.
is relevant,
Tiger moves the needle. If there
Right.
was no Tiger Woods like there hasn't been a Tiger Woods, and
Right.
I'm
Who's
a
talking about
golf
golf?
guy. I'm a golf guy, but
I'll tell you what. Name the last 4 major winners.
I can. There's Schwartzel.
What's his last name?
Charles
What's his
Schwartzel.
first name? Is that a first name?
Charles
or not?
Schwartzel.
Schwartzel.
He won the
Schwartzel
Masters.
What?
Yeah,
Where did he come from?
South Africa.
Uh-huh.
With my
Okay.
best accent.
Yeah.
There was Charles Schwartzel. There was Darren Clark won the British. See, exactly.
Right.
My point exactly, but still.
And it's a hodgepodge of
But
names
I
winning in
get
golf right now.
Up for the Masters. I don't get up for the Stanley Cup. I don't. It's a friend to me.
I love the Stanley Cup. I
So
love the Stanley Cup.
I'm still
I will
waiting
watch
for
this.
your big three. I'm still waiting for your big three.
Okay, my big three. I got to go with NFL.
Okay.
Because there's something intoxicating about football.
We're in agreement. That's number one. We can even rank them. That's
I got
number one.
NFL.
Okay.
I got NHL.
I disagree totally.
And then I've got to go with, do I dare put baseball above basketball? That's
you
what the
have to.
team sport.
You have to.
Then to me, the alternative sports are golf and tennis.
Okay.
That's the way it is.
Okay.
So tennis even, I was a big Roger Federer guy. Watched him come up. Still think he's the greatest player ever.
And
I don't care what they say about Nadal.
I like Nadal.
Yeah. Okay.
I like him. That's my ghetto accent, Nadal.
Nadal. Yeah.
Now, so you're saying NFL. You're saying NFL,
Yeah.
NHL, and you're gonna say baseball.
And I'm gonna put baseball ahead of basketball because baseball, people say it's slow and boring, but baseball is still what it always was. The NBA, if you turn on, those of you who have NBA Network or NBA TV, whatever it's called, watch one of those games from the 80s. And you watch the way they actually played team ball. Everyone was involved in every single play, whether or not they were scoring. Now it's every team going to this featured score. Every time down the floor, you can't play zone defense, so what do? Everybody spreads to wide part of the court, let the guy go one-on-one.
Well, you're talking about the Los Angeles.
NBA,
You're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, here's the thing.
I'm not necessarily talking about them.
You're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers because it's an isolation team. But here's the thing. Here's my big three. I'm gonna go in.
Go ahead.
NFL, we have to agree is number one.
Right, exactly.
Without question.
Unequivocally.
Number two, I'm gonna go Major League Baseball, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna go Major League Baseball because there are so many storylines.
Because Albert Pujols came to the Angels.
Well, that's a watered down. He took the money and ran. But there are so many storylines behind. Cities get behind Major League Baseball teams. There are not too many basketball towns. I don't think basketball is number three. I'm going to go with golf as number three because there are more people that have picked up the game of golf. There are more people that get into the Masters, U.S. Open, British Open, PGA Championship. It's more It's
Well,
separate.
nobody gets into the PGA Championship. That's like the Australian Open is to tennis.
I mean, I agree, but it still is.
It's kind of tacked on at the end.
It's a major.
Yeah, we need a Grand Slam.
But
It has to be
I
full.
have to say, basketball it's always been a fringe sport, and it always will be a fringe sport because you have too many.
You gotta wonder how many of these sports though are being saved by when you look at the new breed of sports fan, and I gotta go sports fan.
Correct.
These fantasy leagues though, I think are propping up a lot of sports.
Well, gambling and fantasy sports is gambling. Gambling is the number one element. It's almost like the heartbeat of sports.
Gambling is, you know what, that is one of those necessary evils.
You have to have it. You have to.
Well, I'll tell you this: when you talk about NFL being the number one sport, I'll say this: I don't really gamble with sports, but if I was going to bet on a sport, it would be NFL. That's the one where you seem like you have control. And remember this: no other sport is it mandatory for you to put out an injury report. It's mandatory in the NFL. Now, are you putting that out so the defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators of the other team
you put that for the book
can make up their game plan? No.
Absolutely.
So there's that thing where
it's
not
I agree.
right, and that's where they silently cater to the gambling population. Which, hey, that's just a lot of what sports.
Nobody wants to go through a prospectus, but they will go through an injury report to bet on games, and that's why I think betting on football and betting on sports is better than betting on the Wall Street Journal because you at least know where you're getting at. You know where you're going. I know if Brett Favre has an injured knee, or at least I know not to bet on him or the weather report.
And one thing is, I don't bet on sports and I don't play fantasy sports and all that because I want to appreciate the purity of the game. And when I'm watching a game, I want to watch and enjoy that game without any of that other subtext going on. So that's why, in general, I do not bet on sports, even though I place long shot Super Bowl bets once a year, just for fun. But as far as the every week, looking at point spreads and things.
Will the NHL ever get back into the Big Three? Will it ever get there?
It was just about there in '94 after the Rangers won the Cup, and then they went into a lockout situation. And then they missed a whole season in 2005. And they're not talking about it, but there's another lockout looming at the end of this season. And Donald Fear is representing the players. And fear.
I just don't think that the NBA has a valid ticket. I know
the
they have
NBA or the NHL.
The NBA. I think the NHL has a valid ticket.
Well, the problem with NHL is it has to be explained to people. When I talk to people who don't like hockey, and when I finally get down to it, and they will just admit, I don't understand it.
Well,
that's what a lot of people say.
Too many warm weather teams that have franchises. Tampa Bay, Florida, the state of
Florida.
Florida.
Once you know the game,
teams.
once you know the game, you can understand it no matter where you live. It's not like if you're an Eskimo, you can appreciate hockey any more than someone who grew up in Miami Beach.
Well, yeah,
I mean, a good sport is a good sport.
But to the layman, to the average guy, I mean, think about it.
Because they don't relate to it. And kids in their toy box, they have a football, baseball, basketball.
I'm not going to the beach.
Do your kids? You got kids?
Of course.
Okay. Are there sticks and pucks in their toy box?
No, there's sticks.
Is there a baseball?
Absolutely.
Is there a basketball?
Absolutely.
Is there a football?
Absolutely.
Which means all of them have hit a World Series home run in their minds. They've all hit a game-winning shot at the buzzer to win an NBA championship. They've all caught a touchdown pass to win a Super Bowl by the time they're 10 years old. How many of them have envisioned themselves winning a Stanley Cup winning goal in overtime, Game 7?
No one I know. I've never come across anybody that said, you know what? Oh, man, when I was younger, I used to think about when I was in the hood hitting that puck in the top shelf. I've never heard that.
Where grandma keeps the cookies.
Now, boxing. Let's go to boxing real quick.
Ooh, boxing.
Can boxing get into the Big Three?
No.
I think they can.
Boxing cannot because, and here's what I say about boxing. Look here. I get to see any of the major championships in golf and tennis. I get to see the Stanley Cup. I get to see the World Series. I get to see the Super Bowl. I get to see the NBA championships all for free. But then they have a boxing match. I got to pay $60 to watch the fight. Why is that? It's all on cable. There's no boxing on network television anymore. Not even ESPN.
Great point. So you're saying that boxing can make it. If boxing says, you know what, and what
about the super fight cards? Remember those?
I remember those.
Remember the super fight?
You had two titles on one card.
Right. Good titles.
Those days may be over, so now...
So I don't think it's reaching the next generation. That's the problem.
Okay, well,
every boxing fan I talk to is at least 40 years old.
But MMA, we just talked about MMA. So
And
MMA is reaching
thing,
the next generation?
That's if you look at the kids coming up now.
I don't think it is.
They're reaching it more so than boxing.
We're in a microwave generation when it comes to sports, and I'm gonna tell you right now, MMA, although it's fashionable,
it's the thing right now.
Right now, but it has no longevity, no legs.
Right. I would agree, unless they do something different. And when you talk about building a model such as boxing, that would bring more legitimacy to them. But where is that model that boxing has taking them ultimately? It's going to take boxing to the grave, and when the Bob Arums and Don Kings of the world are gone, you're going to have a bleached carcass laying out in the desert.
I disagree.
And everybody wondering who picked the bones clean.
I think it's going to go back to the days of boxing being on CBS, like in the 50s and 60s when boxing was
ABC?
on evening television.
Are you going to go to your local theater and see it on closed circuit TV like you did Ali and Frazier?
Absolutely, I would do it. Absolutely. So all I can say is the big three is still up.
Well, greed is what's doing it.
Yeah.
Greed is killing boxing. Greed will kill everything. Greed will imprison us all.